that is the classic. That is the classic argument. Walter Sterhel is here on the conference today as well, and he already made the argument, let's say, about 40 years ago in the 70s, 1970s, that if you actually create business models that sell the performance rather than a product, you see that all kind of incentives that currently lead companies to actually sell as much products as possible and as much as material as possible, even do things like stupid things like, from an environmental point of view, is planned obsolescence. Actually, that is not an incentive anymore. At this moment, if you have a product-oriented business model, basically your profit depends on the volume of sales. So you don't care about resources, let alone about all kind of consumables that the user has to use to operate your product. If, however, you focus on the result of the product, then all of a sudden these consumables, these resources, the lifetime of your product is all of a sudden become your problem. And if you then can put a product in the market that is very durable, that uses least consumables, then you are the winner as a company, because actually you have less cost to create the same performance for which you are paid.
In many ways, but first of all I would like to say that for me circular economy is not something new. It's just old good wine in a new bottle with a nice label on. I mean, it's based on life cycle thinking and that industrial symbiosis, etc. So I think what's happened in the future is that PSS and what is now called circular economy will merge. And I think what PSS can contribute with is how to redesign society's products into become more sustainable, actually having longer life cycles, using less material, and also having better business models.
I believe that product service systems can contribute to a circular economy in three main ways. First of all, we're focusing on the value created, and the value can be created between partners, both supplier and customer, rather than this just delivering material products and things. So this whole idea of going circular is to make sure that we get as much use out of the things and products and systems that we're creating and manufacturing, and therefore moving towards a value proposition paradigm. Many companies are already doing it. Secondly, it's about accessing revenue streams that a providing company will not before have done. So in this whole movement from straight product to product service system, when companies servitize themselves, they're actually seeing that there are much more places in the product life cycle or in the user's activity cycle where value can be created. So value can be created for the user, and then of course revenue can be earned by the providing company. Finally, I think that we're seeing a change of responsibility to the provider. That means that in fewer and fewer cases will the final user be the actual owner of technology, and more cases they will be the owner of the result, and the ownership of the technology will possibly remain in the hands of the producer. That gives a responsibility to the producer, but also an opportunity to create much better products, to create much more robust systems, and also to do the right things with the product, because we have a better control over who is owning and who is liable for the technology.
I've always seen a product service system as an integral part of the circular economy. If you work with the PSS from a sustainability perspective, there's the same thing. If you have a performance-based PSS, it's very much the same as a circular economy view.
The word in that case is sharing. They need to adapt their behaviour to be much more prepared to share the use of an artefact such that it can be delivered as a service, to share our transportation systems, to share the rooms in a building so that we can heat and lighten them more efficiently and so on, to share the artefacts which we use in our everyday lives. And I think it's through sharing that PSS has the biggest potential for reducing the through-life impacts of our lives.
I think there are many ways that PSS contributes to circular economy in implementing it in a better way. But I can point out one way that PSS can contribute to circular economy. I guess many of you recognize the butterfly chart in the report by Ellen MacArthur Foundation depicting the flows of the materials. Right? And then in the middle, there are different activities depicted in a sequence. Say component supplier and product supplier, and then service provider. And then there are different ways of circulating material flows. One way of PSS contributing to circular economy is here. If one company provides product and services together, in many cases the efficiency is increased here. Without a PSS, circular economy can exist, but if PSS exists here, in many cases provider side's efficiency is increased. That's one aspect that I see as a potential contribution of PSS to circular economy.
PSS can contribute to circular economy in many different ways. I would say that probably the most important one is by changing the incentives that manufacturing companies have today when they do business. At the point that we have product service systems and we have a change of ownership, so the OEM or the manufacturer becomes responsible for managing the product lifetime, then several different changes in incentives happen. So I could say probably the first one, and maybe one of the most important ones, is that manufacturers will have the incentive to prolong the lifetime of their products as much as possible. So they can continuously create value over time with the same set of physical products. At the same time, if you have product service systems working with result-oriented business, then we can also have a very strong enhancement of the resource efficiency of those products. So all of a sudden it makes sense to develop the most efficient products from an energy consumption point of view or material consumption point of view. Last, I would say that another very important aspect into product service systems and circular economy is that PSS will enable access to the products in their end of life, especially if you have change of ownership traditionally from the consumers, but it becomes then ownership of the actual manufacturers. And what happens at that point is that they will know exactly where their products are, they will know exactly their conditions at the time they take them back, and that will for sure enable them to have more efficient processes for remanufacturing, reconditioning, reuse, or recycling. So I'd say that PSS can really bring different advantages for circular economy, but it doesn't happen alone. So it's very important to, when developing a product service system, to keep circular economy and sustainability in mind, so we can actually realize all the potential opportunities there.